Hey everyone, I'm Pastor Weston. Just want to give you guys an update. First, just want to talk a little bit about the risk of coronavirus, and then more specifically, I just want to talk about the things that we're going to be doing as a church family moving forward. And obviously, I am not an infectious disease expert, but I am a pastor, and as your pastor, I've tried to do the best research I can to listen to the best voices and just want to bring you some information. And first, of course, proper sanitation. So let me get disinfected here so you don't catch anything over the video here, and just want to make sure I'm good and done here. All right, so first let me just talk about maybe some clarity on what the risks are, because there's a lot of confusion out there exactly on the different risks here, and I think part of the confusion is there's two different kinds of risks that people are talking about. There's the individual risk, and then there's the risk to the system, if you will, systemic risk. And listen, the risk to you as an individual is very low. Unless you're in a high-risk category, the risk is very, very low. Survival rates are extremely high, and the majority of people who do catch it experience very mild symptoms. So your individual risk is probably very, very low. You do not need to be worried. When people talk, the reason why there's so much concern has more to do with systemic risk. In other words, because this is a brand new virus and there's very little immunity within our society to it, or virtually none, and it's very infectious, it can spread very rapidly, and if it does, and you have a high number of people who are sick, it can overwhelm the healthcare system. And so that's really the difference. When you hear people talking about it's no big deal, don't worry about it, they're really focusing more on your individual risk. And listen, if you get it, you're going to be okay. And your immune system will probably actually be built up from it. But when those who are talking about, and the reason why there's so much talk about trying to social distance and all that and isolate, it's because they're worried about the systemic risk, which is high numbers of people getting sick all at the same time. And of course, there's concern for those who are the most vulnerable, those who are elderly, those who have some other health conditions. And so if you limit how much this thing spreads, you're hopefully helping that particular group not to catch it, who would be most at risk for complications. So that's why you're seeing two different talks about the different levels of risk. It's individual risk versus systemic risk. And it's just important to keep that in mind so you can be at peace. You're most likely going to be okay. And I think it's also important for us to really, at this point, and you've heard this 100 times, but it is time to trust God. And we do want to trust that God has the right people in place at this time. I'm actually encouraged that our vice president is a very godly man who loves the Lord, who prays, and really cares for people and has good wisdom. So, and he's the one who's actually in overall charge, and there's other people like that. I think we can trust that God has the right people in place. And we can trust that God will guide and lead us through it all. And I think we need to ask God to intervene to minimize the harm from this virus. And most importantly, we also want to, as a community, really turn this for good and make the most of every opportunity. Our job is not to spread rumors, not to point the finger of accusation, and not to give in to fear. Our job is to do three things that I think I want to focus on as a community. Number one, to pray. Number two, to care for one another and stay connected. And number three, point people to God. So let me just explain some of the things that we're putting in place to help us do these three things. The first thing is prayer. We are continuing our Thursday evening prayer gatherings at 6 p.m. right here at 58 Gerber. And, of course, we'll have, the place will be disinfected, and, we'll encourage we're not going to be holding hands and things like that, but we can come and pray. We have lots of space, so it's easy to, keep proper distance if you want to be able to do that. And we will actually stream it on Facebook Live. So for those who would prefer to stay at home but want to join us in prayer, you can do that from your home live. The second thing is we are coordinating some 24/7 prayer. Lynn Wolf is kind of leading that effort for us. She'll be working with Pastor Jamie, and we're looking to get people to sign up, maybe pick a slot over the next few days where you'll commit to pray. And so that's the first thing, is we want to pray. Number two, we want to stay connected, and we want to make sure we're caring for one another. And we are going to be, as a church family, we're moving to a small group model. And so what will happen is we will have small groups that will meet Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Just like our regular service, instead of coming to our building, you'll go to a home, and there'll be small groups, and we'll have some worship, we'll have some prayer, we'll have a message, have an opportunity maybe to just discuss. Of course, your attendance at those is optional. We're not, trying to force everyone to go. But for those who want to continue to gather and feel comfortable doing that, we're going to do it in homes. And we're actually going to assign you to a group. And the reason why we're doing that is for a number of things. Number one, it helps us in terms of communication. It helps in terms of prayer. So the small group leader will have the list of people who've been assigned to him or her, and they will commit to praying every day over those who are in attendance. It helps with communication. If there's any kind of needs, we ask, if you have a need or if you know someone that has a need, we ask that you contact your small group leader first. That will really help us in terms of managing these things. And again, the third reason we're kind of assigning is that it does help us manage so we don't have everybody showing up at one group and nobody showing up at another group. So that's why we're doing it. And I'll tell you what, it's an awesome opportunity to meet some new people. All right, the other ways that we're talking about, how can we care for one another? I know Kelly Ross and Jessica Salzarula have offered to do some things with kids if you're, the schools are closed. I mean, there may be some moms who still need to work, and so they've offered to have some activities and things for the kids, even some schooling. So I know tomorrow, Thursday, from 3 to 5, they'll be here, and Friday morning, 8:30 to 11. They'll be here, so you can participate in that. We are actually in communication with Tallinn. That's the town that the church is, specifically in, and so we're in communication with town leaders, offering to help in any way that we can. They are looking for volunteers. For example, one of the things they are concerned could happen is if their own regular volunteers get sick and are unable to respond to help others. In the case that that's needed, they're looking for people who could back that up. If you've ever had CERT training before, you're automatically eligible. If you're just willing to offer that kind of support, please let us know, and we will let the town know that we have people that they can put on their backup list. So we're looking for other ways. The third thing, in terms of really being able to make sure we stay connected and that we're caring for one another, we also want to care for the church family in terms of continuing our financial support of the church. And I know with all the fear and unsurety about what's going to happen, even in terms of economics, it would be easy not just to hoard food but to hoard your money. And I just want to encourage you that you want to continue to support, and you can do that online, a mobile app. We'll have information out there on how you can mail it, you can drop it off. There's all kinds of ways you can make sure you continue to do that. That would mean a lot. The last thing is, pointing people to the Lord. This is really, I'm telling you, this is an amazing opportunity to press into the Lord. And I want to encourage you to shut most of the news out. I know you need to be informed about what's going on, and that's fine. It's very easy to stay informed without having to constantly be bombarded with all of this stuff and just repeating, and it's just easy to get caught up in a lot of things, to get very distracted by what is happening. And I would say this is a wonderful opportunity, especially if you're feeling any kind of anxiety or anything over this. This is a time to press in. And so use any extra time you have wisely. Stay in contact with people. Call your friends, call your family, call those in the church family. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to publish daily encouragements and some teachings, just short things, just little short videos. We've already had some dreams. We've other things that we just want to share with you on a daily basis to encourage you in your faith, and of course pass these things on to others and encourage them. And this is a beautiful opportunity to be a light into our community and point people back to God. We've said over and over, this is the year that we know that God wants to draw those who are far off near to Him. And this is something that can happen during this time. So be of good cheer, take courage, pray, stay connected, and remember, God loves you, and you are here for such a time as this.